Hey everyone, it's been a minute since you've heard from us, and today's episode is a little different than usual.
It is a little different, and it's actually the episode that we didn't think we'd ever record, and also the one that's been quietly tugging on us for a little bit now.
Today we're here to share that this is the final episode of the Momversation Club.
Hi, Christina.
Hey Claire. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. We have been chips in the night.
Oh my gosh, our lives have been so crazy lately. I feel I haven't seen you in so long.
I know. I got bangs. I got a cat. Things have been wild over here.
I know. I was laughing just before we started recording, guys. So I'm usually the crazy pet woman. I have 3 rescue dogs who are like my children. So it's normally me talking to them and tell them how much I love them. And can you just be quiet while mummy records? And then today, Christina and I get on to film. And it's Christina talking to the cat saying the same thing. Mummy loves you. I'll just be a few minutes.
I'm so sorry I have to kick you out, but there's a candle burning and you might kill yourself. Let me just get you out of this room.
It's come full circle. It's come full circle, which actually is quite poignant because this is what today's episode is about. Because, I mean, honestly, Christina, ending this podcast was not an easy decision for either of us. It's something I know we've gone back on, backwards and forth on for quite a while. We've had these conversations, but we just felt that now is a good time to press pause on what's been the most amazing journey for both of us, and I hope for you guys too.
Yeah, I mean, the show's been like a huge part of both of our lives and also your guys' lives, and it's been a place where we've been able to share like honestly and vulnerably, and there's been laughter and tears and sharing these really universal mom truths that aren't said out loud and creating this really beautiful community, and yeah. It's sad, but it's like you said, it's the time has come, and our lives have shifted, right?
100%. And, as mums, our listeners, I'm sure you can relate to this. We just have periods in our life that change and that don't stay the same. And this is one of those. Both of our lives, Christina and my life has shifted. Our behind the scenes has got a lot more demanding. I mean, it takes a lot to produce a podcast. Christina, I'm sure, we'll get into that a little bit later, but we've got some really exciting individual projects that we're working on. Our family's needs are shifting. My girls are teenagers. My youngest is about to start high school. And Christina, your little one's growing up. And your big girls, not so little anymore either. And while we absolutely adore doing this show, we genuinely do. We absolutely love doing this show for you guys. Our energy and our attention is kind of getting split elsewhere. So we just felt this was the right and proper thing to do.
Totally. And, the truth is that, like you said, it does take a lot of behind the scenes work. It's something we love to do. It's a passion project of ours in every sense of the word, but it's not just, sitting down for coffee and recording with each other, because we could do that all day, every day. We would make room for that. But it's, preparing and editing, and doing it right means promoting it and growing it. And we don't just come to the table with, whatever's fresh off of our heads. We do a lot of research, and we want to make sure that when we come to this community with you guys, we're coming from a place of knowledge, of having collected opinions, and having facts to kind of back up some of our truths. And so, yeah, it takes a little tiny bit, just a little bit. And it's so fun because, we laugh and we joke, but there's all this extra stuff. And when you look at our lives, as we kind of, like you said, when we started, my littlest one was just a little tiny baby. And now she's in preschool, and it's been a couple years now. And those timelines used to be a lot easier to kind of fit in with the nooks and crannies. But with the two of us kind of going in different directions, it's like just even trying to get on a call with you to see how you're doing, Claire, has been hard to do. I think most moms can relate. Like, you try to catch up with your friend, but it's like, I love you so much. I'll see you 2 months from now.
Yeah. Absolutely. And here's the thing, we didn't want to do this half-heartedly. You and I, Christina, are very passionate people. We're either all in or we're not. We don't like doing things half-hearted. And that's never been who we are. And honestly, I think that's what made us such a great fit to co-host and produce this show together, because we were both equally as passionate about the project, about the values, about why we were doing it. And if we couldn't give it the love and the time that it really, really needs and deserves, then I guess we knew at that point then we'd need to say goodbye, or goodbye for now at the very least. And that's just how and where we feel we're at right now.
Yeah, and we've loved this show. It's been, Claire, I'm speaking for myself, but I know you agree with me. It's been a huge part of our lives these last few years. It came into my world at a time where I really needed it. And I feel like our audience really needed to hear from us too. And gosh, you guys have been so great. Like, I love our listeners. We kind of like, when we do the show, you guys, we're just, Claire's in her daughter's room. I'm in my like office that, is behind the laundry. We're just talking into the ether, hoping that something we say lands with someone and helps someone. And gosh, you guys have not only listened, but really talked back to us and shared so much amazing feedback.
Yeah, I mean, and if you remember, Christina, certainly from my point of view, where I was when we started this, I needed this podcast. I needed it just as much as I was hoping our audience needed it, because, I was feeling very lonely, very alone in motherhood. I had lots of challenges, and I felt I was the only one going through it. And I just felt that I wanted other mums out there to not have to feel the way that I did. And so it's been therapy for me. I've learned so much. I've learned so much from you, Christina. I've learned so much from you, the audience, and some of the amazing guests we've had on as well. It's been a privilege, honestly. I feel as though I'm leaving this project more knowledgeable than when I started it.
Absolutely. And getting back to our audience, like the women and the way that you guys have shared your thoughts about the topics that we've discussed, it's been overwhelming, like at times where I never even thought that other people thought that. Like sometimes when we say things, it's like, gosh, I hope I'm not the only mom that's thinking this or holding this to be true. And we've come to find that when we share these raw, authentic thoughts, more than often, they're being shared by so many of you guys. And you guys are feeling seen in certain spaces that maybe you hadn't been seen before. And like Claire said, as we're chatting, we are seeing each other and we're learning from each other in real time. I've learned so much, not only from like what's ahead, because like Claire's got older kids, but in the research we do for different topics, I'm like, oh wow, I feel it really tickled that journalistic bone that I hadn't been able to grab for a while.
Yeah.
It was like a muscle I hadn't stretched, and I was able to like create these little pockets of learning in all these different topics, and I feel so much better for it. Like I feel like the time that we spent doing this was so valuable and so essential to these last 2 years of my motherhood.
I love that. And I don't know about you, Christina, but just reading some of the messages we get from you guys, just knowing that you have felt more seen has made all of this worthwhile, because that's ultimately why we wanted to do this. Yes, as Christina's just said, we're both journalists. This kind of thing is in our blood to an extent. But more than that, it was something that I felt very passionate about, that so many mums were struggling out there and feeling less than. And I wanted that to not be the case. And I wanted Christina and I to create a space for you guys where you felt more than seen, you felt appreciated, you felt understood. And just the fantastic feedback we get from you has made all of these hours of hard work totally worthwhile. I'm so proud of what we've all achieved together. Not just Christina, you and I. I'm talking about the Conversation Club community that we've developed, and it's certainly going to carry with me throughout my motherhood journey, and also in other areas of my life, even my professional life. I found that this journey has helped me feel more empowered, I feel I'm
Ah,
better at boundary setting now. So many things that have improved in my life as a result of us doing this. So thank you, Christina, but thank you guys at home. You've really impacted my life for the better, for sure.
absolutely. Oh man. Well, there's been a lot of really fun episodes. I mean, we've done 80. 80. This is our 80th
God,
episode.
80.
That's so many. And for
It's
a really long time,
insane.
this is a small gap that we've had as we're kind of figuring out whether or not we continue on. We've had this small hiatus. Before that, it was every week. Like we were
Yeah.
in front of you guys every week on Spotify, on YouTube, on social media. And that has been it's like a friend. It's like I feel like I'm going through a friend breakup. Because I'm
I
like, I
know.
you, but
You know,
also
Christine, you know though how I would phrase this? It's so we haven't broken up, so the friendship hasn't broken up, guys. We're still all friends. We're still besties. We've
yes,
just moved away. It's like
yes.
when I moved from England to California, my best friends are still back home. I still speak with them. We're still in touch. They're still my besties. I just don't see them as often. And so I feel like this is similar to that.
Yeah. And what's so great
Yeah.
about having that collection, that library of content is that it's still available, and I feel really good about that because I know that when a mom goes online and searches for like a particular topic and we pop up, that all of those resources are there. Our show notes have links to things that they can use. And we're not going anywhere on social media. We're not deleting anything. So if you feel inclined, you can absolutely still reach to us. It's just me and her, going through the carpool lane, checking our messages and such. But yeah, we're not really going anywhere in a way because we're always going to be living in that space. But
Yeah.
gosh, over 80 episodes, we've covered a lot of things. And I've got to say, I have some favorite moments. And I kind of wanted to go into some nostalgia, some reminiscing of between you and I, because we've got different takes of what
Yeah.
have been like our favorite shows.
Sure.
Um, so I know we've done a lot of like really tearjerker, like heartfelt, heavy stuff. And I love those shows. Those have grown me, like those have pushed me and pulled me into different directions. But I have to laugh because as I was going through our list of shows, I remember episode 16. It was Getting It On Like a Mom. And I remember that show so well. I was trying to we were talking about intimacy with our partners and
Yeah.
as mothers, like how we find that time within the day to day to like have that special space for each other. And it was like I think our tagline was how to go from hey dad to hey daddy. Um which I can't.
I remember that one. Oh my gosh. So
But I just
funny.
remember, we shared so many like fun one-offs on that episode, and I just remember laughing with you as we were collecting what we were going to say together in the behind the scenes, in crafting what we were going to do on social media for that. Like it was such a fun topic, and I'll tell you what, we didn't get a chance to circle back and come back to that topic again, but I have had conversations with friends outside of the show and have referenced that show. And it's so fun to hear not only their feedback on it, but also the echoing back of like them having the exact same issues and the exact
Yes.
same thoughts and feelings that we're having.
Yeah, do you know what I think we've done really well? And again, I think a lot of this is thanks to you guys at home as well for giving us the confidence and the positive feedback to carry on in this vein. But we have not been afraid to tackle topics that have been traditionally very taboo for mums. And that's an example of one of those topics. It's generally not something a lot of us would feel comfortable chatting to even our friends about. And the fact that with humor and with humility and with a touch of bravery, we have basically put those subjects out there, Christina. I think we should be really proud of that. And I want to thank the audience for embracing that too, and not be like, oh my God, how offensive, don't talk about those things. No, you've been telling us, yes, go girls, we need to speak more about that, normalize this. And so I'm actually really proud of episodes like that, because they're not the type of episodes that, generally speaking, you would find in a parenting podcast.
No, especially in the way that we talked about it. I believe at one point in that episode, I like shared my grandparents' sex routine of having like Friday nights be like their sexy night. And I don't think I named them as my grandparents, but now you know.
Hey, listen, I have that seared onto my brain. I know exactly the episode you're talking about. I have not been able to unforget that information.
Oh my gosh, every Friday do not come to their house. It is situation. But you know what? I think finding those little things to keep the sparks alive was really important. And we've done a lot of episodes in that same vein of things that nobody talks about, but that we're going to talk about, and in a way that that you can listen to it with an older teen in the car. Like, we're not talking about things in an inappropriate way where you can't bring that to another mom at the PTA and be like, this was actually a really good episode. Because I know some shows have dived that deep where it's like, oh, this is getting graphic. We walk that fine line in a beautiful way, I believe.
I think so too. And we were always mindful of that because, everyone needs to find their own niche. And our niche was this. Our niche wasn't to go and, shock and awe people and offend anyone. We just wanted to know, and for women and mums out there to know that, they could come to us, that you guys could come to us for those kind of awkward conversations that are not X-rated by any means, but they're not necessarily some of the conversations that we're all, comfortable bringing up. And so I'm with you. I think we struck that balance really nicely. And we were always very deliberate in the topics that we brought to the Mumversation Club. There was a lot of thought that always went into every single episode. And sometimes, you and I would have ideas and they wouldn't pass the mark. One of us maybe would say, I'm not sure that's universal, or I'm not sure that's kind of, in keeping with our ethos. And so not all of them made the cut, did they, Christina?
No, we have a huge spreadsheet of like episode ideas that come off of our brains, and we like rattle them off to each other on the WhatsApp app. And because we do that all the time outside of the show. And so we're like, hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? And sometimes, like you said, we go, let's bring that alongside this at a later date. And some of those episodes are still on the cutting room floor. We haven't picked them up. So, maybe one day we might pick this back up and come back to the mic. And some of those may come. If not, we encourage you guys to talk about it amongst each other. I think one of the coolest things was when we created the show is we really wanted it to be a club. That's why we called it the Mumversation Club. And we encouraged our audience to not only be listeners, but be part of this like community of people. And you can create your own tribe of people within your little area. And I think what's nice about the show is as you're listening, you see two moms that are, relatable, I hope, to somebody. We all these people that are talking about this, and maybe it emboldens you to go into your friend group and maybe bring that same conversation over.
Oh my gosh, yes. And honestly, that would be my biggest hope for this moving forward, even though we're not proactively recording any more Mumversation Club episodes, for you guys to carry on doing the good work and recreating your own Mumversation Club in your town, within your mum group. That would be definitely something that I would love to see. Just to mention one of my favorite episodes, it isn't one of the most heartfelt ones. It isn't one of the most knowledge-seeking ones, but it is, for me, really funny. And it was one of our Halloween episodes. In fact, it was our first Halloween episode. And the reason it makes me laugh is because we were talking about, as kids get older, especially girls, their costumes changing. And we had the funniest, you created this, because by the way, Christina was the social media mastermind. Well, she still is the social media mastermind. So all our amazing social media is thanks to Christina. And you created, it was in the early days, so we were still finding our voice and our brand, but you created this really funny meme, and it was something like, oh God, I'd need to find it, but it was something about, when your teenage daughter looks like a stripper on Halloween. It was hilarious. It was so hilarious.
Was it like a fishnet graphic of some sort?
Yes, it was. And I was like, oh my God, that's my life right now. So from my point of view, I hope that because I was coming at this show with teens and tweens, I just hope that some of those mums out there, particularly those who are mums to teenage girls, feel like they're not going crazy, and that, oh my God, there's another mum that's dealing exactly with the same issues as I am. So that was my hope. That was what I was hoping to bring to the table. And that episode just really embodied my life in that moment.
I remember that episode because we so believe in making sure our girls are empowered and that they're advocates of their own body. And, you and I are both on the same page when it comes to empowering them in that way. But at the same time, we have to make sure that our girls are, kind of looking at the environment they're in and dressing accordingly. And so it's this fine line that we were writing. And I think all the time with different episodes, different topics, we're writing this line of, okay, we've got this thing that we have to accomplish, but at the same time, we're creating people that we want to have out in the world. And so how do we make those two things work together? And I think that's kind of motherhood in a nutshell. It's like, we've got to get things done this certain way, but then also we need to make sure we're fueling your creative identity and who you are as a person, and we're building the best you. But you're kind of like, those two things are at odds sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that Halloween episode for me just summed up the delicate balance between empowering your kids and then, making them see that everything's appropriate for that particular situation. Just having some worldly wise about them too, but also helping them feel empowered. It's a tricky one, especially for teenage mum girls, or teenage girl mums, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's been such a blast. I mean, what do you feel that you've learned? I know this is a big kind of question, but I honestly feel that I have grown personally. I really do, from being a part of this show. And I was just interested to get your take on that. Do you feel like you've grown as a person? And if so, how?
Yes, absolutely. I think the biggest thing I've learned from the show, and there's so many minute things as well, is that I'm a lot less alone than I feel sometimes. Yeah. A lot of time in motherhood, it can feel really lonely, and it can feel like you're kind of just trying to tread water and you're the only one experiencing this. And even though we look over and we see other moms struggling, no one's outwardly showing just how hard it can be. And hosting this podcast, it reminded me that I'm not the only mom who feels overwhelmed to that level, or undervalidated, or kind of looked over. And it gave me permission to explore that. And I think it gave our listeners permission to be like, yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. Raising my hand. I also feel this way sometimes. And in a way that I feel like I hadn't quite felt before in other venues and other spaces, I think.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think it's so easy as mums to, and we've discussed this too, social media is getting a little more real, but even still, there's lots of very polished, perfect looking lives on social media. And, even doing the school run or picking your kids up from school or being at a school event, it looks like the other mums are succeeding. It looks like they are, for the most part, they've got this in the bag. They don't have any issues. The husbands look like they're really happy with their wives. Everyone looks great together. And this podcast has taught me again, and it's something I've struggled with a lot over the years, is not to compare ourselves. It's not a comparison. Stay in your lane. It's okay to be you. And honestly, if it makes you feel any better, not that we're wishing any ill will on anyone, but quite a lot of what you see is not the full picture.
Yeah.
There's stuff going on behind the scenes. All of us have got something going on. And I would, honestly, that's probably my biggest takeaway, Christina, as parents, as mothers, even the most put together of us, that's not always what's going on. And so for us to have, kindness towards ourselves, but also towards other mums, I think is important because we don't know what each other are going through, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're all just trying our best and nobody really knows what to do exactly. We're
No,
all consulting the
no.
internet, each other, and trying our best to kind of tread water, like I said. And I feel like things are getting thrown at us left and right, and we're kind of just expected to go on. And it gave so much space for that. I think the show allowed us to not only say, hey, this is what's happening, but then week by week really tackle some of the like smaller like granular level type of things when it comes to that whole topic. And I'm
Mhm.
really proud of it in that way. And also, getting back to some of the really specific shows we've done, I think I've learned a lot about myself. It kind of was
Yes,
like a little therapy.
it
You know, when
was.
I when I started this show, like I said, I was, my when we started talking about this show, I was like freshly postpartum, just coming out of like postpartum depression hell, like just getting my bearings. I think I might have still been leaking some breast milk, like I was a mess. And I was navigating a lot of really fragile like grief and healing and a lot of like who am I now? A lot of mourning the person I used to be versus the person I am now in motherhood. And we've had such wonderful guests come on and
Oh,
share amazing
amazing.
wisdom. I'm thinking of Joko Tifa from the
Oh,
Morning Space and the Owning Life
just
podcast. Holy crap.
incredible, incredible guest. And you're right, she is a standout guest for sure. And if anyone, is listening to this and you didn't see those episodes, check them out. So
Yeah.
her name is Joko Tifa. She is a grief expert basically. And she just puts things in such a beautiful and practical way and just amazing. In fact, I think we had her on twice. She was so
We
good.
did. We did have her
Yeah.
on. We loved her so much. We brought her back. But
Yeah.
she taught me so much about grief and healing and holding space with being like in an unwell spot and being okay with that.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and then along with her, there's been some really wonderful guests, especially in the special needs moms arena, that have really brought in such great perspective in that spot. Because a
Yeah.
lot of podcasts, it kind of, as moms, when we first started, we're like, okay, here's all the things we're going to cover, right? But then we found our niche and we found our footing. Like we got past
Mm.
like the whole like hooker memes. We brought it into this section where we kind of found our spot, our sweet spot.
Yeah.
And our sweet spot was walking alongside other moms and hearing their voices.
Yes.
And hearing some of the unspoken moments in special needs motherhood was really important to me.
Yeah.
I
Me
feel like I
too.
hadn't heard that before. And some of the things that they said, some of the things that I read in their books or I went on their website or that they said to us on the show,
Yeah.
they're going to stick with me. I'm getting kind of choked up, but they're going to stick with me for a really long time because I felt like if I said those out loud, I'd be a monster. And as we said them out loud on the show, we got, again, feedback. So much feedback after
Mm.
those shows of like,
Mhm.
thank you for naming that. Like, thank you for
Yeah.
putting to words a feeling I felt but didn't know how to shape it into something to say out loud to someone else.
I feel that we've tackled mum shame a lot.
Mm,
And I feel that we've done it in such a way that, has even impacted how we view ourselves, Christina. And again, hopes and, wants from this time that we've been together and takeaways really from our podcast, for me, right at the top of that list would be exactly that mums listening to this don't feel that mum shame, that mum guilt that they perhaps did before they started listening to us, because we are such harsh critics of ourselves. And I think some of the guests that we've
yeah.
had on the show, particularly, have given us authority to get rid of those feelings. And they have basically, helped uplift us and say to us, it's okay. You don't have to have all the answers today. And it's okay if you feel like this. This is normal. This is natural. And it's going to get better. And I feel that, our experts also gave us hope. They got real with us, but they gave us hope. I never felt like, even the heavier episodes, I never felt that I left those episodes feeling hopeless. I always felt
Mm.
that I'd learned something and that I was hopeful, even if the situation or the topic was heavier and maybe, emotional, or whatever it may have been. So I really hope our listeners also kind of came away with those takeaways too.
Yeah, and we've had some heavy episodes. I mean, we've covered like topics like abuse and parentification and boundary setting, miscarriages, birth
Yeah.
injury, all sorts of stuff. And
Mhm.
I agree. I think you come from a place of you learn so much, you gather this knowledge, but then you hear from both of us kind of our perspective or the guest perspective on it,
Yeah.
and how to kind of continue walking your path with this attached. Because
Yeah.
we're not stopping. We're going to continue into motherhood
Yeah.
with extra
Absolutely.
things we've collected.
Yes, yes. And actually, Christina, you and I have got very vulnerable on these episodes too. I mean, I'm thinking particularly with miscarriage, that's something that, has impacted your life. And for me, the birth injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, the fact that we were able to, here's the thing, when we first discussed this podcast, I think we made a pact that we were going to have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And again, talking about things that we're going to take away from this, that's a great one throughout life, being comfortable with being uncomfortable, basically. And so, we've put ourselves in quite vulnerable positions on this podcast. And I hope that, for you and I and the mums listening to this, that will be something that we can take into our other aspects of our lives, and just have the feeling that whatever we decide to do, we can do it. And there's nothing that's too daunting for us to overcome, and we can overcome it together. You don't have to be alone. And that there are lots of friends out there for you, even if they're not physically there with you. Like in my case, most of my friends are back in England. We still can have each other's backs. And I think that's been the most beautiful thing about this whole Mumversation Club experience.
Yeah, yeah. And selfishly, one of my biggest takeaways is you. We've
Oh,
talked about,
yay!
but we've grown in friendship. We barely knew each other when we first started this. I mean, we've been family and we've been acquaintances online, but
Yes.
we hadn't had a really long, in depth like cry session together.
Never,
And
never.
ever. And through these episodes, I've gotten to know so many things. And what's great about it is I've been able to, I come in like viewing the version of you that I thought in my head was you.
Hmm.
And by the end of these 80 episodes, I feel like I've come to really know the real you. And I feel like our listeners have too.
Yeah, I love that. And same goes for you. I said we were very open. We actually did an episode about this, how, what our initial impressions were of each other compared to what we think of each other now. And I remember feeling that you were slightly intimidating. And I know you felt the same about me in some ways. And that's so not the case. But what I love about you and I really cherish about our friendship is you're just so authentically you. And you've just got such a great attitude. I mean, our audience, I'm sure, can pick that up from these conversations, from our social media. But you're so authentic, and you've got this great vibe about you. You're so fun, and you will fight for people as well. And I love that you're so brave in your opinions, and you don't give a damn about what other people think. And I mean this in the best possible way, because you are very well intentioned. And I love that. You've got such a great vibe about you, Christina. And, and
Thanks.
you're the type of person that I want my girls to see and be like, yeah, go girl. Yeah, she's so great. You're such a great example to young girls as well.
Thank you, Claire. I mean, to my detriment sometimes when it comes to being bold, but like pick your battles. But thank you for saying that. I've also come into myself over these last few years of being doing this podcast. I feel like I kind of got dropped off at a bus stop with like where my life was at the time. Didn't know what direction next, and I feel like I've got a really good sense of where I'm going now, and I'm excited, even though we're ending our weekly journey of talking to you guys every week. Claire and I are, at the beginning of our friendship still, and we get to carry on. And
100%.
you guys can always see us individually on the social media, the socials, like an old lady.
Yeah.
And like we
On
said, you know,
on the internet. On
on the
internet.
internet. But we hope that, you know, you guys carry on with you some of these lessons. And gosh, if there's one thing with these 80 episodes that I want on my side for you guys to take away is that you aren't alone. Like that's the
Yeah.
overall theme of our entire show. Like
Yeah.
you aren't alone. Look to your left, look to your right, even though it's not apparent. Like we are all thinking the same things. There's so much divide right now in our country, in our lives, and so many things are so us versus them. But when it comes to
Yeah.
motherhood, we're all moms. We all want to raise happy, healthy children. We all want to do the very best thing we can do. We're all trying to like find ourselves in this and not
Yeah.
lose our identity. There's just so much universal connectors, and it's helped me a lot in listening to different opinions and different thoughts and different guests in kind of empathizing with others and seeing maybe someone who is maybe overtly curt with me or like having a hard time, and I go, wow, they're probably holding on to something. There's probably a lot of like little moving, like what are they juggling? I know what my circus looks like. What does their
Yeah.
circus look like?
Yeah.
And I'm always the
Yeah.
best at it. Sometimes the boldness comes out and I'm a little sharp, but I think overall it's given me a lot of empathy for others.
I love that. And I think that's what we need. I think you just hit the nail on the head. We're in a very divided world, but we as mothers have that in common. And that's a massive, important, if not the most important thing to have in common. So just find that commonality between other mums, regardless of political beliefs and anything that comes outside of the bond of mothers. And let's start there, because we need to have each other's back. We really do. This thing is not easy. Being a mum is not easy. And, having each other's back is just, it's critical. And I really hope that the community we've built just kind of goes on and magnifies and gets bigger and kind of manifests itself in other ways, whether it be in your community with your group of friends, or however this journey, because this is a journey, we're not ending it here, just because we're not going to be recording on a weekly basis. The Mumversation Club ethos and what we stand for is part of an ongoing journey, and I really hope that all of us, Christina and I and you guys at home, we all stay friends and we stay part of the Mumversation Club, because it's just so important for us to have each other's back.
Yeah, we started out the show with where the F is the village. That was our tagline.
We did.
And
Yeah,
I
we
feel
did.
along the way between all the experts and their spaces and all of the collective like stuff that we've gathered, we've kind of makeshifted our own little Frankenstein village. And I hope that
Yeah.
continues on. And until we meet again, we are sending you guys so much love. Please keep this essence of the Conversation Club alive and bring it
Yes.
to your space.
We love you guys. Thank you so much for being with us on this journey. Bye.